I'm Kiera Morgan. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Coffee with Kiera, sponsored by The Human Being in Newport and in Lincoln City. I am here with Chantelle Estes, the manager for the Community Shelter and Resource Center here in Lincoln City. And this is a new shelter that was opened up recently. They have the shelter in Newport, and now this is the second location here in Lincoln City. So Chantelle, first, let's have you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Sure. So as mentioned, my name is Chantelle. I came to Newport last September of 2023 in order to open up Newport Shelter. And so I moved from California, and I have a background in criminal justice and mental health. And it balances the opportunity in order to provide a safe and welcoming space for all. And that includes our pets. And so we've had some learning lessons over the year, making this Lincoln City shelter, being able to start up quicker. We've had policies and procedures and things like that were very helpful. So we've already done most of that hard work. And we were able to see a lot of our guests come through the system last year without having doctor services. So we've added some of those services to this Lincoln City shelter. So that is who I am.
That's exciting. Let's talk a little bit about the shelter, both the shelters, because they both provide the same services. Let's talk about those services.
Absolutely. It's very important for consistency to be very clear across both shelters. We are a family to include Newport and Lincoln City staff. We do not staff split. It doesn't run any different. Our policies and procedures are adequately the same. How our guest is treated in Newport is how they are treated in Lincoln City. And it's very important to remember that the policies and procedures goes with both shelters, because we do have to have certain things in place in order to provide that safe environment. So we do have doctor service that we just started this year. He did 2 nights last week in Newport, and we were able to already see 9 guests to prevent emergency room visits just by him doing wound care and foot care. And currently I'm looking for a volunteer to work on veterinarian services.
Oh, okay.
Because we have been really trying to focus on our animals just as much as we're focusing on our adults, because when they're comfortable, it makes it so much easier for the owner. And so we've got an amazing donor that donated $250 from Jamie Brianna Legacy Fund. And we couldn't be anything more thankful for that, because they are going to coordinate with Momo, which is a private business that sells animal clothes. And so we'll be able to have a fund there in order to pick up what is necessary, like raincoats and other coats and things. But what we're really needing also is like flea medicine, and also some of the funds for shots. And so we're trying to incorporate that this year as well. But we currently run 7 days a week from November 1st all the way till the end of April. And with the 2 locations, the Newport location, we're currently still doing a temporary location there. But Lincoln City, we have a shower. We'll be able to get guests and pets showers along with laundry cleaned. So that is the biggest thing that we've got going here in Lincoln City for the new shelter.
So you mentioned that you're open from, you do intake from 5:30 to 7.
From
right?
6 to 7?
6 to 7, okay. So when does the showering, laundry, when does all that take place? Because guests are leaving at 7 in the morning, right?
Correct. So as soon as they enter, they get on a list of needs. So we have all of the hygiene needs, clothes needs, and shower needs, laundry needs. And we go by first come, first serve. So when someone comes in, they need a shower, immediately they can drop their stuff at their location and they go eat, or they can go straight to the shower, depending on whichever one they are. And then we go, and we can only take so many a night, but we will the next night put the next people on the top of the list.
That's great. And you said they guests get a hot meal.
Yes.
Is that provided by donations, or where does this food come from?
That actually comes out of my budget right here in Lincoln City right now. And so
I seriously thought you were going to say that comes out of my own pocket. I mean, I wouldn't put it past her, but
hey, you got to do what no one's starving in my shelter, that's for sure. But we also have a volunteer that cooks every Monday. And it's important that we try to see if there's anyone else that would love to be able to cook for our shelter guests, because a home cooked meal really makes a difference. And so right now we're unable to fry in this kitchen because we're not a commercial kitchen, but we are able to do crock pot meals. And so anything soups, salads, pastas, fettuccinis, spaghetti, we can put in even crock pots. And it really has made a big difference. And so we're shopping what's the best deal of the week.
Now, are you taking food donations?
So we do get like Soup Kitchen will give us in Newport. We're also working with the Samaritan Hospital. They give us their foods from their cafeteria because they are a registered kitchen. We are able to take it from them. We're not able to take just donations from anybody because they're not, if they haven't gone through the food handlers card program.
But like canned food or anything like that?
So we can't take donations for like we do clothes.
Okay.
Because of the restrictions on food, it has to go through a different channel. And because we're county, we have a lot higher restrictions that makes us line up with just commercial kitchens, or even if someone is if they're a commercial kitchen from a church event and they have leftovers, we definitely can take those as well. And it's just the common way is to be able to get food. So if churches are doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they have leftovers, we would love to correspond with that, and we will pick it up.
Fantastic. And let's talk a little bit more about how you help. You don't just provide a place for people to sleep in the winter. You offer a hand up, not a hand out, right?
Absolutely. The whole goal of this is stabilization. And the only way we can do stabilization is to know their needs, work toward that goal, and accomplish that within a time frame that is going to get them into permanent housing within the time period of our services. So we do have outreach navigators that work with our guests. Again, they sign up for those services and then they make appointments with them and they meet them where they're at. So they meet them here.
Okay. That's great.
And we do all types of different referrals. Anybody needs referral service for transitional housing. So far this year, I've been able to house 10 people in transitional housing.
That's fantastic.
It's extremely important to know that shelters is a temporary base opportunity to work with folks at. It's not a hotel to stay at and continuously stay. We want to be able to work with people to get them stable.
And let's talk a little bit about last year, first year, you hit the ground running. And it was crazy. You had just the Newport, but saw the need to have the Lincoln City shelter. Let's talk a little bit about how things are different from last year to this year and what things are the same.
Well, last year I was flying, building the airplane in the air,
She really was.
making numerous amount of changes as we went along, as we saw the need. And that is how I found out that we had such a huge medical need. Some of our guests literally could not even walk on their feet because of wounds. And so we adjusted how we did things based on what we saw we needed. For an example, our population is over 50% of those over 50 years old. And we've noticed that we really need to work toward finding some kind of stopping grounds for gap. And we're working also on building a transitional housing unit so that we can extend their abilities to get stable. And so what I realized last year is that we really needed to add services like veteran services, like housing outreach, like wound care, doctor services, and things like that. So I took a lot from last year and I'm implementing it this year.
That's phenomenal. And let's talk a little bit about the Newport location, now under construction.
Yes, still under construction. Still.
We were really hoping by the time we got this video going that it'd be up and running, and maybe it will, who knows?
2 weeks, hopefully. Hopefully 2 weeks we get to go home.
So tell us about how how things are going there in Newport and how you pivoted to make things happen.
Well, the challenges that we had this year, I was hoping to not have, and that would be to relocate shelters and not have the services that we really need, like showers, like laundry. And it's been difficult to wash all the bedding in the laundromat, but we redirect into the new ways that we can to make it continue. We are very grateful for First Presbyterian Church for allowing us to use their facility. Again, it is a temporary location, but we do have cots and mats, and we're able to still provide them a hot meal as well. And hopefully in 2 weeks, we'll be in our hometown, and we'll be doing a grand opening then.
That'll be wonderful. So some of the things that have come up and questions that have been asked have been about security and also about dignity and procedure. And are the rules too strict, Chantelle?
So again, my background is in criminal justice and in mental health, and it gives me a balance to understand security with compassion. Compassion is extremely important to get people in the door. The hardest part is walking in. How are you treated? That is why we do a team meeting every single day in order to promote the compassion that we as staff must do. And we do radios with earpieces. We carry some security measures that is visual. So we have staff outside. We are assessing folks that might need some extra attention and address those issues prior to coming into the shelter. My policy is let's talk outside before you come inside, because not all is going to make it inside. And that is because we want everyone to be safe, including our staff and volunteers, but mostly our guests need to feel comfortable. If there is chaos going on, then they're not going to be able to sleep. So we have a zero tolerance for foul language and discrimination and any kind of bullying. So what happens on the street should stay on the street. What happens in the shelter stays in the shelter, meaning that if they have a conflict outside of the shelter, usually we'll put them on different sides of the room, and we do not let them come in at the same time, but we will not let one stay on the street just because they don't get along. We just make it very clear that we're here for everyone. So when someone says, why do you take all my personal stuff? I completely understand that. That is why our staff does not touch personal stuff. We offer security bags, and the guest puts their own personal stuff in these security bags, and then they are zipped up by themselves, where the staff does not have any access to it. And not only that, but this way they don't feel like something may be not put in there or we're violating them because we're going through their personal stuff. I say, I don't care what you have, put it in your bag. That is up to you. If it's paraphernalia, we are not monitors. We're not cops. We do not do that type of investigating. You're here for this reason, and that's to give you a good night's sleep. And so we do have to have them put it in a secure bag, which then is securely locked and not have access to it for many, many reasons. And one of those is to prevent weapons from coming into the shelter.
Well, and it's for their own safety too, because you never know if somebody has the same thing as someone else. There might be some confusion over whose is whose.
Absolutely. And you brought up a really good point.
An issue.
Absolutely.
Or could be an issue.
It is actually, and we try to prevent triggers. I train de-escalation. One of the things is we prevent triggers. And the only way we can do that is to try to find ways that the person feels safe. So when somebody has, let's just use this as an example, a bottle of Tylenol, and it would be, if it was allowed on the floor, it could be possibly stolen from another person that really does need Tylenol. However, it's a trigger. And so what we do is we have the guests take out what medications they need for the night, and then the rest of their medication is safe. They know it'll be there when they wake up in the morning. And some say, why can't they just take everything in? The hardest part about knowing what's inside is what could happen inside. So if we eliminate those options and still make them feel safe, that nothing that they put or take in will be stolen. We have again, policies in place that if someone does have a theft issue or does steal from them, we have a strict policy on what we do with that. But again, keeping in mind, we don't want people to stay on the streets. However, we do not also want anybody a victim. So the great thing about doing escorts for the emergency room is that we talk with the guests there on site as well and inform them of everything that we do here so that they're full aware of what they're walking into. I always say it's easier to know what to expect than to walk into an environment that you don't know what's going on. So we are very much so open about our process and policies because it's important that they do know what is the steps and how do we get through this process.
All right. Is there anything else, Chantelle, that you'd like to add? Did we cover everything? Volunteers.
Yes, I was just going to get
donations.
to that. I was just going to get to that. I did want to make a huge thank you out to our college, OOCC, on their nursing program. We have an enormous amount of nurses that is capable and willing to work in a shelter environment, and they have really helped my budget this year in many ways and brought a service to our guests that is completely different and unique than somebody just doing security and monitoring. And it's helpful to bring those smiles into our shelters. And we are looking for ones to sign up for Lincoln City now. And so any of our college students that are looking in the nursing program that is interested, please go through your director on site, and then we'll be able to sign you up and send you the link where you can manually sign up yourself for any shifts that you want. And basically the shifts are monitoring or doctor services. So you would be the doctor's assistant doing the vitals and all of the good stuff that they're in school for. All other volunteers, community volunteers, we love you and we want you to be a part of our family. And so anything we can do under our Community Shelter and Resource Center, we have a tab under volunteers. Please look at that, fill out the application, and we will get you into our training. Everyone that comes through the shelter has to go through the de-escalation training in order to make sure that everybody knows what they're getting into and they're prepared to handle anything that might happen so that everyone, again, is safe. And we definitely need volunteers in Lincoln City. So please, when we have more bodies here, more staff here, more people here to help people, there's less of anxiety on waiting on things.
And it doesn't mean that they have to stay all night long.
No, in fact, it's just...
I want to clarify that.
Yes, so they come in at 5 and they could leave at 7, they can leave at 8. There's no regulations on times. We'd like our folks to not work, actually, our volunteers not to work more than 3 hours because that's a long shift as it is as a volunteer. But if you just wanted to do an hour here, you wanted to help sort donations or you wanted to help fill all of our inventory, there's many things that we could use folks for different times. And they would reach out to me at 541-270-1005.
And donate clothing donations.
Yes.
Socks, underwear, always much needed. But also, again, just like Jamie Brianna's Legacy Fund, you can donate to help the pets.
Yes, and we're coming up with a donation plan so that we will be able to link on our website where you'd be able to just link on it and be able to send the donations, and that all those funds go directly to our pets. And right now we have 3 in each different and in our Newport shelter, and they all need flea medicine and they all need so many different things. And here, once we get here, they're going to need those things as well. So pet clothes, Mau Mau is one of the donators that really helps out with the clothes. And we're still needing to find some donor that would be able to give us flea medicine or something to really assist them with that. We noticed that having fleas is an irritation for them as well. And we try to have what we can to make sure that they're good. So any donator for animals, we could use you.
What about dog food?
Dog food, cat food. We can't forget about our cat lovers. We have some cat cage kennels as well. And cat food and dog food is always needed. Right now we work with our animal shelter that they get a donation and we can get some from them, but we've had to purchase it lately. And every dollar that comes out of my budget for things we need to work on or get more stuff, we want to make sure we take care of our animals though. But it would be helpful if we had different angles for donors. Right. Our donations for clothing, right now we are also helping Agape. They are getting a shed together for their clothes to help during our day center. And we're helping going through them, and we need sweats, sweatpants, shoes, socks, underwear, rain gear of any sort, hats, gloves. Those are really, really important for the shelter, but also Agape is doing work clothes, things that is actually to the next level of navigating, where they get a job, then need clothes. So when we get a donation, we won't use those items. We will be able to help each other. We're hoping to be able to find local resources for day centers here as well.
And where is Agape located?
I'm sorry.
We'll give them a plug.
I'm sorry. Yes, and they are located on 10th Street in Newport.
All right. Thank you so much for everything that you do. It's always a pleasure coming here and visiting with you and learning about the great ways that you're helping the unhoused in our community. Thank you so much, Chantelle. It is greatly appreciated. And the pet.
Yes, and I just also want to say, the county programs that are coming up with has been phenomenal. The county commissioners that have all kicked in and really have made a point to address our unhoused population is completely different than what I'm used to and where I come from. And that really does make a huge difference when it comes to if you have that backup. And so I'm so impressed on how this county runs and how much they really, truly care about our unhoused.
And the cities kicking in as well.
Exactly. And the city, like Lincoln City, Newport City, either Depot Bay, even Yachats and Walport. We just love you all, because without your support, we wouldn't be here. And I'm hoping not to have to come back to you next year, but I may. Otherwise, every support we get, our transits. I don't want to forget about our transit, the bus tickets that we get in order to give to other agencies to get people to the shelters. Those bus tickets might be minute, small, but it's a big amount that adds up. And that is transportation that we have major issues with. And we're trying to find other ways to work with them on our animals and transporting as well.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, Chantelle, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Coffee with Kiera. We are sponsored by the Human Bean. My coffee is cold now.
It's just cold coffee now.
It is. They are located at 6th Street and Highway 101 in Newport, and in Lincoln City on the north side of the highway, on the west, next to TLC Credit Union. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Coffee with Kiera. I'm Kiera Morgan.